Hi, this is Kerry Artek with Wicked Stocks, bringing you the daily Tesla report for Monday, September 19th, 2022. This is our third week of daily Tesla analysis. We continue it all the way through the rest of the month, and then October we switch to another high volume, a high day tradable, if you will, stock. Probably out of the top 10 of the NASDAQ 100. We will be taking votes. If you have any opinions about that, feel free to chime in. We'll be asking for your opinion later in the month as we move through the last week of September. So let's get on with the daily Tesla report. When we started the report a couple of weeks ago, we'd mentioned how the 279.31 rising channel bottom, about 5 months in the making, coming off that May low, how it could contain selling through October, and above which the 335.60 descending channel top that's longer term in scope remains an objective that is likely to be realized by the end of October. So that is still in play, having come off that 279.31 solid pullback support. I don't expect a revisit of that support unless we close today, for instance, below 295.27. But 295.27 to 296.80 is our pullback support. We're just above it, really. Can contain weekly selling pressures, and above which 335.60 remains a mere 2 to 3 week target rather than a 1 to 2 month target above 279.31, which remains in effect. We're now in the 2 to 3 week time frame above 295.27 to 296.80. So you're buying the mid 290s in anticipation of the 330s over the next several weeks. Let's take a look. What is 296.80? That is this descending channel top. Yes, we gapped above it about a week ago, gapped back below it on that CPI report. The following day closed back above it, and it held for all intents and purposes on last Friday's pullback. And so it was part of a range of support that we slipped below just a bit, but obviously closed decidedly above it. 296.80 is our floor of support, the beginning of it down to 295.27 that can contain weekly selling pressures. And as I say, 335.60 remains a 2 to 3 week target. Over the next day, 2, 3 at the most, we should retest that 310.67 Fibonacci level. I don't have the A-B points shown here, but you can see them. It is the high from last November against the May low. It's a long-term Fibonacci, actually performed quite well late July, early August in containing the highs thus far. I don't anticipate this containing weekly or monthly highs anymore. I think perhaps on the next test, and we came close to testing it on Thursday, it could contain daily buying pressures, as you see here, 310.67, but I don't think much more than that. In fact, we could close above that on our next attempt. By the way, for the day itself, 303.96, you can see these minor points, is our intraday pivot point, just above Friday's high. It's actually a 5/8 Fibonacci just over the last 2 days. There's a lot going on in that upper 303 handle, but I'm going to hinge off of 303.96 as our intraday pivot point, below which that 296.80 level is in reach again today, yet pushing or opening above 303.96, 310.67 becomes an intraday target where we can place a daily high. And if we close above 310.67, we should, by the end of next week, reach that 335.60 objective that can contain buying through October and quite possibly the balance of the year. Let me see if there's anything else to show here. I will show this. This is actually not even shown in the support and resistance because it is so far off the mark. And that is to say that if we close above 310.67 today, for instance, 324.15, the steeply rising channel top becomes our next 2 to 3 day target. And by the end of next week, as I say, 335.60 anticipated, where we can top out on a longer term basis. Let me take a look. Now, I showed you, here we go. This is actually a good illustration of the support for the day, 295.27 to 296.80. 296.80 I already showed is that descending channel top, but 295.27 is a short-term channel bottom. This is our pivot for the week, above which 2 to 3 week target remains at 335.60. 2 to 3 day target at 310.67. But if we close below 295.27. Let me mention about breaking or opening. If we get overnight weakness, Asian markets Sunday evening, so forth, and we gap below 295.27, we could test 287.43 on an intraday basis. And in fact, I think we probably would under that scenario. If we merely fall off on Monday and as the day wears on, then by midday, early afternoon, violate 295.27, is 287.43 likely? I would question that, but let me just bottom line this as we continue into tomorrow and later week. A settlement today below 295.27 would signal the 279.31 channel bottom once again. That would be inside of about 2 to 3 days. So by Wednesday, Thursday of this week, we should then retest 279.31. That channel bottom able to contain selling once again through October, and above which expecting 335.60 over that time horizon. Now, if we do close below 279.31, that's not going to happen today, but later in the week we close below that formation, we have a near-term sell signal only, not a long-term sell signal, as I've been saying, and I've got this on the weekly chart here. I can show it. 256.52, a rising 2/3 speed line that remains in play. It becomes, I'm going to say, a 3 to 5 day target if we close any day below that 279.31 rising channel bottom. 256.52 shown here on the weekly chart. If we get the settlement below 279.31, I'll begin charting that on a day-by-day daily chart. 256.52, a 3 to 5 day target below 279.31. 256.52 able also to contain monthly, possibly quarterly selling pressures, and is the point that, if settled below, should send this market south into later year. So no long-term sell signal, which is to say through October and into later year, unless we were to close below the 256.52 rising 2/3 speed line. I would then anticipate the 206.85 low from last May, possibly within 3 to 5 weeks, and over the next 2 to 3 months, the 191.92 descending channel bottom, which contained selling pressures quite well, the May lows. That was actually a target in a Tesla video we put out in April, and it performed well. We'd mentioned how it could contain quarterly selling pressures, and it did. And once again, it becomes, I'm going to call it a 2-month objective if we were to close below 256.52. But we are a long way from that right now. I will leave you with this image for the day. Mid 290s, 295.27, 96.80, able to contain weekly selling pressures, and above which we remain constructive for the week. 310.67 expected over the next few days, possibly today if we push through 303.96. We close above 310.67. We should reach that 335.62 to 3-week target by the end of next week. Inversely, closing today below 295.27, good weekly high. The next few days should continue south to the 279.31 midterm support, where we could bottom out through October activity. And that is all I have for today's Daily Tesla Report. I'll be back tomorrow with Tuesdays, and you have a great day.